Hi everyone, Sophie Wolfberg here. My IO is on the biography of Gabriel Garcia Marquez, the author of Chronicle of a Death Foretold. I believe that it is very important that we get to know a little bit about our author, as his early life has shaped many of his ideas that we see in the novel. Marquez was supposedly born on March 6, 1927, in a little village called Aracataca, Colombia. I say supposedly because a small village did not issue birth certificates in the time period that he was born in, so there is no official record of his birth. However, some say that he was born a year later. His father, Gabriel Eligio Garcia, and his mother, Luisa Santiago Marquez, moved away to Barranquilla a few months after he was born in order to start a pharmacy business. They left Gabriel to live with his grandparents until the age of 8 when his grandfather died. There is not many records of Gabriel's father, however, we do know that he was born in Cincé, Bolivar on December 1st, 1901, and his mother was 14 years old when she had him. His father had many other children and never married his mother. On the other hand, Marquez's mother, Luisa, was born into a very conservative family on July 25th, 1905. Luisa's parents partially raised Marquez, and it is important that I touch on their lives because they really did shape many of Marquez's literary styles and personal beliefs. His grandfather's name was Nicolas Marquez, and his grandmother's name was Tranquilina Cortez, and the couple actually shared the same grandmother. Nicolas descended from her first marriage, and Tranquilina came from her second marriage after she was widowed. Incest was actually very common in that area, and more common than anywhere else in the world. However, it still carries the same stigma it does here. Nicholas was a publicly known womanizer and a very scandalous man for his multiple relationships with other women. He also was arrested for a year for killing a younger man that was the nephew of one of his old friends. The story on why he killed the man became so wrapped up in family secrets and scandals that no one knows the true reason why he did it. Both of the grandparents were descendants of white European families and were very racist towards people of color. Both of them were very conservative, which led them to disapprove of the marriage between Marquez's parents. They disliked Marquez's father because he was poor, an illegitimate son, and a supporter of the Confederate Party that Nicholas had recently defeated in the Thousand-Day War. Marquez's grandparents never truly explained to him why his parents left him, so Marquez was always left with a curious wondering about where he came from. However, his grandparents would tell him these overly romantic and fairy tale-like stories of his parents' relationship. And also in an interview with Marquez, he said that he credits his grandparents for being the strongest literary influence he received as an adult. His grandparents really shaped the way he writes and influenced his magical realism genre. Aside from Marquez's interesting family life, he had a very complex career. He received an early education at a school for the poor and attended on a scholarship. He got his baccalaureate degree in 1946 while he started to edit for a local newspaper in that same year. In 1947, he started law school at the University of Bogotá, but unfortunately, he had to transfer to the University of Cartagena because of a civil war that was happening in that area. He was working as a journalist at the University of Cartagena, and in 1950, he dropped out of law school, then moved to Barranquilla. And then in 1954, he moved back to Bogotá and worked as a film critic/reporter. In 1955, he traveled all over Europe as a foreign correspondent for a newspaper. However, the Colombian regime shut the company down, and he was left in Paris because he didn't have any money until 1958. In 1967, Marquez finally gained international success for 100 Years of Solitude, which was considered his best work. He won a Nobel Peace Prize for Literature in 1982, which established his role as the most influential writer in the world. If you didn't already know, Chronicle of a Death Foretold was based off of a true story that Marquez had heard about. And I made you a little chart here to show you the differences between the novel and real life. In the novel, it took place in an anonymous town somewhere in Colombia. However, in real life, it took place in a town called Sucre in Colombia. And the two men that are accused of killing Santiago in the novel are twins. However, in real life, they were only brothers named Victor and Jose. The man that was killed was named Cayetano Chimento, and the bride in real life was named Margarita, and the groom was named Miguel. Marquez was originally going to write an article about this event that he heard about, but instead he was very interested in the communicative guilt idea of the whole event, so he decided to write a narrative about the murder because he thought it was more interesting that way. Unfortunately, Marquez was diagnosed with cancer in the late 90s, and he also suffered from dementia. He died on April 17, 2014 in Mexico City, and his name is still very popular in the literature world as he is considered one of the most influential authors of our generation. So now that you know about Marquez's life, I'm going to leave you with these two discussion questions so you can help to get a sense of why learning about our authors' lives is so important in understanding the novel as a whole. Thanks for watching.